live in Nigeria for at least 5 years after they finish, on the basis that um, Nigerian universities are subsidized. Um, for a medical, someone who wants to go into the medical profession, that has to spend at least 6 years if schools go normally. And when you consider medicine in particular, the kind of facilities and that you require, then it beats me if Nigerian doctors are trained in some of the most difficult circumstances, why they shouldn't try and get better economic welfare after they are done. You find out people have to spend, if you on a normal on in a normal situation, medical those who do go into the medical field will spend 6 years in university, 1 year of housemanship, 1 year of youth service. So it takes you about 8 years to train. In Nigeria, where universities are short at least once every year, you find out that sometimes they spend 10, 11, 12 years reading a taking it through the whole process of becoming a doctor. And at the end of the day, you come out and there's nothing to do. No hospitals, even the ones that are available, the facilities are not what they're meant to be. But the truth is, we do require doctors in Nigeria. Um, um, Surgeons, physicians, dentists, and it just helps us to see if we can keep some of them back. Those who want to live on their own volition will definitely live, and that's the truth. But at the end of the day, I think it's good news. The the incoming administration has a lot to do in terms of infrastructure development, which is what we heard throughout the 8 years of this administration and didn't really see anything. So at the end of the day, and the UK has put out the notice, which is also good, meaning that Nigeria has the opportunity now, like Ghana did, to sit down with the UK government and have a government-to-government relationship. I hope the Ministry of Health is listening. Those who, because the truth of it is, people will move because if they require a better economic atmosphere, they would move. Like I said, some will move on their own volition. It would not be because people are trying to recruit them from outside, and so on and so forth. So when you consider the fact that Nigerians Nigerians are some of the best doctors in the world, then you know why Nigeria is a target. So another opportunity for the government to sit down with the UK government, have some form of arrangement. Um, Secondly, they shouldn't try and bully doctors into saying that they must stay 5 years, that you subsidize. You subsidize, in quotes, the bill that is saying you subsidize their education and keep them in schools for 8, 9 years rather than 6 years. I don't know what kind of subsidy that is. That's one. But they pay their school fees. It's not like you dash them money or they go to school for free. If they come out and they can't get jobs, then what do you expect them to do? But like I said, all in all, good news. Opportunity for the government to sit down with the UK government and work out some form of arrangement so that both parties are happier. Government could, like in Ghana, I think for every doctor that needs to leave, the Ghanaian government gets, I think it's £1,000 or so. It might be little, but at least you get something for the efforts that has been put in towards training qualified professionals in Nigeria.
All right, let's go on to WhatsApp. Emo from Ikeja says, "Good morning. It's good news for the government, at least, if they take this opportunity to try and make the medical industry an attractive one. But bad news for the doctors and the nurses, because when you know, you know." All right. And let's go on to a message from Femi. Femi says, "Wade, let's be fair, they are humans. Under normal circumstances, they spend on the average 10 years for training. If their working conditions are okay, would they be leaving in jobs?"
And I agree with that, and I said that earlier. But it's good news for government for them to sit down and work out proper working arrangements for those who want to leave, for those who want to stay, and provide the necessary infrastructure and enabling environment for them to remain in Nigeria.
Kofowarla says the red list is not recent. I believe mischievous minds resurrected this due to the buzz of the ridiculous bill being bounced around in the lower chamber. The list basically prevents active recruitment from UK hospitals, but it doesn't prohibit doctors from writing the UK qualifying exams and moving out to the UK to practice. If you look at the statistics, more doctors continue to leave even after Nigeria was placed on the red lists. Okay, so the next article comes from Punch, and it's a very interesting one. So the NPC has warned its ad hoc staff against sexual harassment during the upcoming population and housing census scheduled for May 3rd to May 5th this year. Um, okay.
I this is really interesting, but it's a good way to go.
Hmm.
Why do I say that? You find out that there are going to be a number of ad hoc staff, male, female, and with a number of things that could go on, you could have this kind of situations come into play. So what they're saying here is, one, the rule is no tolerance at all. Two, if anything or anything seemingly goes in that direction, you have a voice to come back to the MPC.
Hmm.
But the other thing about it is you should also be careful because it could be the other way around. So either which way, it's no tolerance, whether you're working with the MPC or you're going to go to an enumerator's place and I mean a, a, a member of the population, and just to ensure that there are no hanky pankies
Hmm.
and ensure that those who want to go and enumerate Nigerians are going there with a clear mind, with the clear vision, with the right focus to ensure that needs to be done needs to be done, and so on. So, yes, I'm happy that they brought this out so that everybody is aware. So if you're coming in there with funny ideas as an ad hoc staff or a permanent staff who is already a member of the MPC, fancying someone and trying to do what is not right,
Hmm.
then everybody has a voice. So I
Okay.
I think it's good that they've made it public, and they've told anybody so you don't have funny ideas or creative ideas or say, oh, this is an opportunity for me.
Wow. I don't know. I mean, I was in Nigeria when the last census was held in 2006, and it was a very short process, a few minutes, a lady coming in and having a few conversations, and yeah, it wasn't really anything, but I'm just um okay, let's move on. But I'm just wondering why this would be top of the priorities
I'm sure
list.
I'm sure it's happened before. Are
Mm,
you with me? And they've had complaints because there's no reason. Well, in my mind, yeah,
mm,
internally you would have that discourse, but there's no reason to put it out into the press.
mm,
And it's also to help safeguard those who you are going to count,
okay.
so that they are also aware that they have a voice, and if any of the enumerators come in and do things that they believe are funny. And
Mm,
today, with all the eye reporters in the world,
right.
it gives you a better opportunity to put those things down. You never know what the number of people don't know when you are recording, and it starts with a simple hello, and then it goes into a number of things, and
Mm.
you understand where I'm coming from.
Okay, all right. This one is from Vanguard. Federal government, through the Ministry of Aviation, has acquired RPA 200 MC mobile 3D primary radars. Now, the first of these primary radars was procured, which was procured actually did arrive in the country this weekend, and this is supposed to be some aircraft detection system, and this sale was done with Argentina.
Yeah, they procured nine. Um, the contract was signed in 2021. We've gotten the first one. Um, we don't know how much it costs, which is what's it called? This has come into the news. We don't know when the remaining eight are going to come. Like we paid for the aircraft, and it took about over 2 years for it to come, and we paid up front. We don't know whether they paid these monies in full. We don't know when they're going to come. We hope that the incoming administration would keep a focus on this towards ensuring that we receive the remaining aid from Argentina. Um, for a country like us, why we don't have aircraft detecting systems and mechanisms, it beats me with the quality of human beings that we have in Nigeria, who are a lot of them in the diaspora, and so on. It's coming to light, and it's just what I would call putting it out there to show that, in quotes, there are some things that you need to also be careful about how you put them out. Putting them out there that we paid for them. We didn't know that this contract was in place. Now that one has come in, they have to make the noise that we're really working, and it's
information management.
But we're working hard. At least we know now that one has come, 8 more to come, so we can actually put our eyes out, our ears, to be sure that maybe in the next year or two we would have received all. Not that we procured 9, one has come, and then every other thing goes down the drain.
Right. Well, let's take a break and we'll continue the conversation on the other side. This is Freshly Pressed on Smooth 98.1. I don't know, that sexual harassment story is just making me laugh.
No, but it's true. It happens. From there, it moves to stalking. Some of these things happen because...
Wow. Okay, I didn't think of it. All right.
And I didn't want to move into that because you start by the fact and say, oh, okay. Now, because they're ad hoc staff, they were employed by the hospital, so it starts, and then a number of your phone numbers of people, you start sending texts, and a number of issues. You start calling, you start to harass the person.
People. Well, if they haven't, the census is in May, literally next month.
They just want to collect money.
Oh my days.
It's a funny country. Every day I'm just telling myself, but we have to stay and
absolutely, because really, who can fix it? Hi, Mr. C. Good morning. How are you?
Happy Easter. How, madam? How she's spending your money well?
I don't mind if you chop my money. Oh wait, we're streaming.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that we're not saying we're
hyping Mr. C.
Well, so where we see I'm growing leaner, but
you don't have a choice. Don't grow leaner. Grow fatter.
You're listening to Freshly Pressed on Smooth 98.1. It's Zibby and Uade with you this morning. We see your messages coming through. Please keep them coming. The WhatsApp number is 0809 440 981. And don't forget, we're streaming live up on our YouTube channel. And it's always a good idea to catch the live stream because, there's always some behind the mics conversations that happen here in the studio. But let's go on to the next story. And this one is from, I'm just going to scroll up to get to that story. Okay, it's right here. Now, this one comes from Daily Trust. The National Union of Scrap and Waste Pickers of Nigeria, yes, it's a real organization. I'm thinking it would be called NUSWAN, has urged the government to protect its members from assault and being hounded like criminals. Now, the president of NUSWAN, Friday Oku, made the appeal in his speech during the 2-day First National Education Conference on the inauguration of Northern Leadership of NUSWAN, and this was held in Abuja over the weekend.
Very interesting story. What makes it even more interesting is the fact that these guys are actually trying to make a living. Managing scrap, managing waste, recycling waste, huge opportunities. If you go down reading the story, they have issues in Lagos State, where people just think that every one of them is a criminal or has criminal tendencies, that way. But these are people who, for the want of the use of a better word, help people, do you understand?
Right.
To discard of items they no longer require. And it's huge business. Some of these things will go into recycle. Some of these things will go to people who are going to fix them and be able to send them in the second-hand market, so that other people would have use for them. Metal that can be, reprocessed, and so on. Um, Waste disposal, what do you call it? Um, Toilet seats, and a number of things.
Mm.
So when you see them knocking their, what's it called, it's something for me that government should actually look at what the opportunities are, create an enabling environment for it, whether you need to register as a business, whether it's one person or is as a group, and make the best out of it. Find out how to actually generate income for the government in terms of it's part of the unorganized private sector. Those who you will say, oh, are not within the radar. So every time I hear, you know, whether it's state or federal government, telling people, oh no, you can't do this, you ban them. For us, if you don't provide the enabling environment for them, one, where would you be able to sort this kind of things? Opportunities for government to build large scrap yards where even they themselves can take possession of it.
Mm.
People pay the rent to sort, people pay, to get things out and use and reuse them and recycle them. So when I was reading this story, initially I was laughing, but reading through it and seeing some of the things that have happened, you find out that huge opportunities in small scale, um, creating wealth for people, and we're just discarding the fact that, and everybody just look at, oh, some of them for I've met one
Mm.
who is a graduate, and what he does, he takes these things in, he takes it to a yard, he sorts them out, he resells. Because he buys from these people.
Mm.
Waste disposal is not free, and if you as government is not doing that, then you must create that enabling environment. You should have sorting areas where people can take them to, so it's not just on the streets or leave them, and then get them better organized and create wealth from the system. And that for me is what this message is all about, rather than continually hounding them and making them
Mm.
feel like they're
But
not
why
working.
why do people have the idea that these recyclers are dishonest or are criminals? Because it's a sentiment that a lot of people share.
Yeah, because you see them pushing their carts. Are you with me? And everybody just says, oh, maybe some amongst them, or maybe a few amongst them, have done things before. Maybe, oh, okay, I want to sell this, and then he takes it and then he runs away. But that doesn't mean that there are no opportunities there. Um, People will take advantage of situations. That's true. However, there are huge opportunities when you organize these systems properly. You find out it's a massive, massive industry. You know, and
Mm.
rather than just throw waste into the bin and and see them decay, a lot of items that can be recycled, a number of them. It would provide enabling. If you provide the enabling environment, you could create what's it called, recycling
Mm.
industries in different areas of the economy, whether it's plastic, whether it's ceramic, whether it's metal, whether it's even used clothes, you know, rags that, yeah, like you call them, that
Mm.
can be turned into a number of things. And so let's take this serious. These are huge opportunities. These are areas that the incoming administration should start looking at. I heard you talking about small businesses this morning. If you don't, the life wire of any country resides in small businesses, because they employ 50 to 60% of the population. You might think um, 50,000 naira a month that
Mm.
you earn as a salary, from a small business is small. No, but that's not true. It means that you're going to create wealth, you're going to have the velocity of money continually increase, and you're going to boost the economy. And these are things that we need to start thinking about.
Mm. I recall years ago there was a BBC documentary called Welcome to Lagos, and one of the episodes was a full focus on the recycling industry, and it was very enlightening, really. Let's go on to WhatsApp and see what messages we have coming through. Yemi says, "Good morning." Well, good morning right back, Yemi. If I know my Nigerians well, and I think I do, these policies will always have loopholes, and you can bet my brethren to take advantage of some of those. God bless Nigeria. Cisco says, why procurement of radars? What aircraft are they detecting? I think this is misplacement of priority.
Terrorists.
There are areas to concentrate on, like insecurity and kidnapping.
That's part of catering for insecurity.
Absolutely. Abbas says the red list is not recent. We've been on that list since 2021, yet the UK still recruits health workers massively. The list is just on papers. Nigerians will even do everything to ensure they break that list. The problem with this government is that they have lacked proper communication and PR. There are so many projects and people oriented purchases that they have done that are not even known to the public. Some aides are just collecting salary for doing nothing. So many procurements were done that are yet to even come into the country because of the processes of purchase. Okay, residents around the Ilo Awela Canal, Ajegunle Tollgate area have cried out over perennial floodings that's led to destruction of the building and even deaths in the area. Now, members of that community had told newsmen that the spot is just at the boundary between Lagos and Ogun states, and it does seem like they've been abandoned by both governments.
And we know, well, I know about that area, and it causes a lot of flooding because of the river, the Ogun River also, and a number of things. Now, I would take this from two sides quickly. One is the community itself. How is it managing its waste disposal, dirt in the canal, and canal cleaning? I know that is the responsibility of government. That's one. Two, what you tend to find out, and this I would blame solely on government, is people, do you understand, building and causing obstructions in the right of way of some of these channels. And what do you do about them? Nothing until the place is flawed. Government would advise you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that, but really, you can't blame a man who is hungry, who has nowhere to stay, and is trying to make a living, and this is empty space, you know. So at the end of the day, I think the government should realign its thinking in terms of the floods have started, they would come again, the rains have started, and they're getting heavier, you know. So at the end of the day, I think the government should work, should move quickly. Both states should ensure the regular clearing of the canal. When you understand the kind of people you have, then you have to continually do the things that you need to do. Are you going to surcharge them for doing that as part of, oh, we don't see you pay taxes, so maybe this is a form of getting those things together, which might not be necessarily be the right path, but at least you would get it done. So I beckon on the Lagos state and the Ogun state government to come together, make sure that we lose too many people, we lose so much monies from people doing business in those areas. Children could die from flooding, being swept away. We know how many people were lost last year, how much billions or hundreds of billions that went awash last year from the flooding. And again, the predictions are this year's ones are even going to be higher than last year, and it's just getting higher and higher every year. But rather than be proactive, I believe me, something tells me that it's going to be reaction for this place again. Every year is always reactionary.
All right, let's go on to some of the messages that we have coming through on WhatsApp. Let's see. Victor says, I'm sure this new law does not affect doctors from private universities. Well, it's not a law yet. It's just past second reading, so it's not exactly a law yet. And Bayo says it's unfortunate that a sizable number of these recyclers use it to steal valuables and also move arms. Perhaps that's why the government regularly moves against them, similar to Okada riders.
But you see, each time you move against them, are you with me? You create massive unemployment, pushing them down the line of criminal activities. Set systems to work. That's what you must do. They are good. A number of them are good elements. So let's not throw the baby and the bathwater away. Every time, the first thing is ban it. And each time you ban, you take people from having some form of income into zero income. And that's the point.
Right. Okay, let's go on to the next article. Now, the Minister of Niger Delta Affairs, Chief Umana, has reaffirmed the federal government's commitment to addressing the inequalities in the Niger Delta region. And he's called on the people to support the government's efforts by embracing peace and unity.
Like you said something earlier. It's information management. That's what I see from this story. You build the vocational development center, and you trade into the news that we have done so much. Okay, I hear you. I hear me. Um, people people do a number of things, a number of vocations. So you build one, only God knows when it started and when it finished. Indigenous labor, indigenous this and that. It's just trying to tell us that these are the wee days of the close down. How many? 6 weeks.
Wow.
Thereabout. So we
Okay.
need to tell the world what we did and what we have been doing. So
All right, Yinka
I'll leave it at
Bolu
that.
via WhatsApp says anyone condemning the bill to retain the doctors in Nigeria without preferring a better solution to it or how to make that bill better, I'm sure is yet to visit the hospital anytime soon. Fact is, there are no doctors in the morning. Do we have to wait till there is a pandemic before we do something drastic? Yes, we may want to eat this on economic realities and that the government should leave the doctors alone and fix the economy. But in the interim, what do we do? Okay, this is Omotala. Omotala says some of the waste comes from other communities. The government has just abandoned its duties. And the final message from Fabian. Fabian says, concerning the bill restricting doctors following graduation, first, I consider it quite unfair as doctors are not the only ones traveling and they had said they have enough doctors in the country. Secondly, the health sector is moribund and they ought to have brought legislation to revamp it. Lastly, but not the least, the legislature should first bring a bill to prevent himself and other government officials from using government funds to travel out. All right, that's all the time that we have for Freshly Pressed. Thanks for your messages. Thanks for listening. And of course, special thanks to my analyst, Uade, for joining us this morning.
Thank you for always having me on Tuesday mornings. Have a great week, everyone.
Do stay with us. There's a lot more to come on the Smooth Breakfast.
The headlines, the stories,